It's very wasteful. Buy things, if you need them, that can be repaired. And this is a hard one. When VCRs first came out, most of them were made with metal parts, and they could be repaired. But as they got cheaper, they stopped making them with metal and started using plastic.
Oh, yeah.
You take it to the repair shop, you can go buy a new one for the price of that one.
Planned obsolescence.
Computers. Use it until it's unusable. And then get on FreeCycle and say, I've got something for somebody to use it for parts. For example, my brother rebuilds computers which don't have all the bells and whistles and gives them to people who can't afford any computer.
There are also organizations that'll take computers and give them to less fortunate, they'll rebuild them. There's one right in Zephyr Hills, I can't remember the name of it.
Some of the school programs, too, are worth getting involved with because the schools will do the same thing.
Right.
But there's a number of people who work with my brother, and they rebuild the computers and give them to people who don't have access. For example, an older person that just wants email from their grandchildren.
Yeah, something simple. And pictures. Pictures are a big thing with grandchildren.
Now, I'm semi-literate when it comes to computers. So I do know how to use some of the bells and whistles. But usually because somebody is looking over my shoulder and telling me how to do it. And there are a lot of older people who can't even do that. So we need to think in terms of passing good stuff on to somebody else. And this is really important. Okay. Everybody says, well, now, how do I get started? Okay. I don't have a lot of money. So where do I go to start doing these things? Well, you want to learn about gardening and you live in a neighborhood, look at who has the prettiest yard or who has a nice vegetable garden. Go have a talk with them. See what they do. Remember, there are a lot of older people out there who live through the Depression. Okay? Go strike up a conversation. You'd be amazed at what you can learn from somebody in their 80s who lived through the Depression. Got news for you guys. We're going to have another depression. So it would make it really good for us to all start storing up knowledge. And these people have value. Maybe you can't talk to your grandmother, but there might be some little old gentleman or little lady around the corner who can give you an awful lot of tips on how to make your money go further.
Sometimes if you help them because they can't do as much, they'll share it with you.
Books. Okay. We have lots of books that are on permaculture that can help you get started. Okay? In fact, we've got some tonight, and I'm going to make a recommendation. Now, what I have up here is not for sale.
Mary, I got the redesign, reduce, and recycle, but what two did I miss?
Okay. Reuse and repair.
Okay, thank you.
Used to, when you wanted a book on permaculture, it was really hard to find. But now you can get them. So which book do you need to buy? Okay. Bill Mollison wrote the book on permaculture. However, it can be a little difficult to find, and sometimes a little difficult
Karen's
to read.
holding it up.
Karen's holding it up. You got yours on what?
I
Online?
got mine online, but the cheapest that I found was used here, just so you have this record on the video, is that the cheapest that I found this was $60 or $65, and I was like, oh yeah, used. Oh, that's kind of expensive. I don't know. I hemmed and hawed, and 24 hours later the book was gone. And I started looking for the next little bit, and I was like, you can't touch that book for like, I think it goes for $83 or $84 new, but if you go on other places, they've already bumped it up to $120. So people already know the value of this book, and if you have an opportunity to get a copy of it,
Get it.
get it, because $80 right now is cheap.
Don't forget your local library.
You cannot check them out of the library.
They
Why is
consider them
that?
reference.
They consider them reference.
Oh, okay. Well, you can sit there and read it.
And the other option that we've discussed in the circle quite some time ago was actually each person, I mean this violates copyright laws, but each person either copy or focus on a chapter of that book while they have the book, and then become an expert in that particular topic.
Now, there are other books that aren't
that's
specifically stated as permaculture.
right.
But you can find things like, Karen's got one called,
This one is by John Seymour, called The Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It, and it's a complete back to basics guide, which even deals with animals and
Animal husbandry. And
exactly, and those people that are eating animals, that type of thing. I kind of prefer not to. That's how I grew up, but I prefer not to. But anyway, I'll pass that book along. These are both my personal books. I just wanted to bring them to share.
okay,
Permaculture Activist does sell that book for $84.
Okay, so it's about right.
What was the title of the first book?
Permaculture Designer's Manual.
by Bill
Thank you.
Mollison. Yeah, it's an
he
awesome book.
is the one who really started the permaculture movement, along with another fellow, David Holbrook, and we've got his book here.
What's the title of that permaculture? What?
Permaculture Principles and Pathways Beyond Sustainability.
And this one that Mary's holding up is awesome because I
Okay.
have this one.
This one is reasonably priced at $24.95. It's called Gaia's Garden. It's by a guy named Toby Hemingway who lives in Oregon. Oregon and Washington State are both really big on permaculture.
In British Columbia.
This is a good one, a very good one.
And if you're intimidated by the more scientifically written books, this guy writes like a poet.
Yeah. It's real easy reading. Now this is one of the best. It's called Food Not Lawns.
Ha ha ha.
Now, it's written by Heather Flores, who is a certified permaculture instructor. But this is really easy reading. And I liked it because it said not lawn. I hate lawn. I ripped out the grass out of my yard a long time ago. And there is none. Really and truly. I have no grass. I have mulch paths and beds.
But if you see her yard, it's absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Requiem for a Lawnmower is another good one.
And the subtitle is Gardening in a Warmer, Drier World.
Now, if you live in a deed-restricted community, I got news for you. You're not going to be able to do any of this unless you hide it. But it can be done. There's a lady who lives over in our area who lives in a deed-restricted community, and she puts her cabbages in with her petunias, and she puts, her collard greens in with something else. People have no idea that she's growing all these vegetables in her yard. If they did, they'd make her take it out. Now, this one is not for sale. And Willow doesn't have it, and I don't either, and you're going to have to look for it. But you can get it from the library. It's called Extreme Simplicity, Homesteading in the City. And it's by a guy named Christopher McGears. Okay, this is a good book if you want to simplify your life.
spell his name, please?
It's Myeres, and you can find it online, reasonably priced.
N-Y-G-E-R-G-E-S?
Myeres. Okay.
And what's the word after extreme?
Homesteading in the city. What it is, not everybody has the money to go out and buy 10 acres of land. Most people are stuck wherever they live. Like I said, I've been in my house for 30 years. I'm not going to pick up and go anywhere else, not at my age. I'm not going into debt because my house is paid for. It's very unlikely that I would have the strength to go out and homestead on 10 acres either. But I can do what I can do in my yard. This guy has some really good ideas on how to live on a lot less money, but live quite richly. He bought a rundown house. They rehabbed it. People had fixed their cars in the front yard. So they had all this oil and all this sludge in the front yards. And they reclaimed it. It took them a while, but they reclaimed the land. He produces enough food for his family to live on that land. And he actually sells it at farmers markets. And it's an urban lot. So it's a really good book. So now you've got all this information, and you said, okay, now what do I do? Where do I go? All right, first place you need, let's say you need some raised beds. Now there's two ways to do it. You can use concrete blocks, you can use lumber, you can use plastic lumber and make your raised beds. Or you can simply mound it up. Now I have my raised beds and I made them with concrete blocks. And I put soil inside the empty spaces for herbs. My vegetables go in the bed and then I have my herbs around. I would kind of like to get rid of the blocks because I could really plant a lot more if I did the keyhole garden. The only problem with that is I get a lot of drainage through there, so I'm afraid what will happen is I'll lose a lot of my soil. So I need something to kind of hold it in.
Although with the keyhole pattern, which is kind of an undulating in and out, it lessens the water washing away.
So I may be switching over after we come back from this class. Okay, for those of you who aren't quite ready to tackle raised beds, but you want to do something, flower pots, and you don't have to buy them. Go on, recycle in your area and say, I need black plastic pots. Okay? Now I have some that are this big. I have potatoes growing in. And it makes it really kind of hard to lift them. So I crumpled up newspaper in the bottom, along with shredded up cardboard, but not inked. But you know, you get envelopes, the big manila envelopes with stuff in it in your mail. Well, I took them and crumpled those up in there to lift the soil. And I put in compost. Actually, I mixed topsoil and compost. And some of them are doing pretty good. I've got collard greens in some. I've got bok choy in some. I have some herbs in some. And I put them around my grape arbor on the edges. When it gets really hot and the grape leaves come back, they'll also shade those pots so they won't be in the direct sun. They won't be in the burning sun. So I have a mix. So you can do the same thing, but you don't need to go out and buy them. Do a curb crawl. Go through an affluent area where they do a lot of landscaping. You know, these people who decide after 6 months, oh, I want something new in there. It's amazing how many pots you can find that they've thrown out. In fact, all my big ones, came from a curb crawl. Somebody had landscaped and put new trees in. So I've got these humongous pots where the trees came in. They work beautifully. Now we're going to talk about seeds. You have to be careful where you buy your seeds. Please don't run down to Walmart and buy your seeds. There is a good reason for not getting seeds at Walmart. You want to make sure that you get open pollinated heirlooms or something that comes from a company that does not genetically modify their seeds, or they weren't produced by Monsanto. I'm sorry, Monsanto can make all the money they want on the tomatoes that they have modified, but I really don't want frog legs with my tomatoes. I want tomatoes. And they put frog DNA in their tomatoes. I don't know about anybody else, but, you know, I want my fish separate.
And they don't put that on the label either.
And it's not on the label.
And we don't know about the long-term effects of all
Right.
this DNA
Why did they do
stuff.
Because they're trying to control all sources of food.
But I mean,
No, it actually,
why?
it responds better to, like, it needs like less water, or it needs less pesticide, or...
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of
Creates
different
a certain
factors as to why
quality.
they do that, but what it boils down
Right.
to is the long-term testing has never been done. So
And will never.
are we going to have, you know, deformed
We're gonna
children
make
3 generations from
You know,
now?
sure,
You know,
you need to put that on the label.
they don't.
They don't. They're not allowed, they don't.
And they rewrite the laws.
And they're not
They
rewriting.
lobby Congress and rewrite the laws so they don't have to.
There is a movie online, I think you can get it off of Google. It's called The Future of Food. Watch it. Guaranteed you'll never buy anything produced by Monsanto again.
Is that something that, Karen,
Yes.
that we could have a video night of that movie here?
Yes, we probably can. Let me write that down.
The future of
The
food.
Future of food.
It's actually, anybody has internet access to, that's actually posted on Sacred Grounds blog on MySpace. I don't like that who owns MySpace. It's an excellent communication tool. So
But Rupert Murdoch owns it.
I'm exploiting the communication aspect of it.
But
and
it's,
speak.
But is that something that we could see here
Yes.
together sometime?
Probably.
Yes.
the thing is, you can scrounge up just about everything you need from other people's garbage, literally. Put online if you want to do concrete block beds, but you need concrete blocks. They don't have to be perfect. They can be chipped, they can be cracked, and most of these people